In 2022, I think we went to places that few other organizations have gone. Inside Myanmar, or in Afghanistan, or to higher risk parts of Ukraine as the conflict was erupting there. And when you bring together that skill of getting to hard to reach places and interviewing people who are direct eyewitnesses to violations within the technical expertise that we have, we're able to build these really strong investigations. And to me, that is the best way for our team to speak truth to power.
Literally from the first day of the war, the crisis team was documenting Russian war crimes across the country. We've documented the use of cluster munitions. We interviewed eyewitnesses of the deliberate executions of civilians. We've documented Russian airstrikes that were deliberate attacks on civilians. Our research will be the blueprints for future accountability.
A powerful bomb has struck a theater in the besieged city of Mariupol.
Russia's defense ministry has denied carrying out the attack.
One of the key questions in the Mariupol theater attack is what weapon was used.
Who had the capability to deploy such munition over the theater?
When NASA fires a rocket at Mars, it can measure the size of the impact based upon how far various pieces of the rock moves away. We're using the same techniques.
We also built a 3D model with all the videos, all the images we could find.
The depth of the investigation is really like nothing I've ever been part of on this team before.
We countered the narratives from the Russians, and we put the truth out there for people to know and to see.
Airstrikes by military planes against civilian targets.
The military has ramped up its onslaught on villages.
Civil society organizations had been campaigning since February 2020 for a ban on aviation fuel. However, their calls did not succeed in getting governments to take any action. The problem was that there was a research gap.
We were able to use ship tracking data to watch ships arrive in ports in Myanmar. We used truck transport data to understand how the aviation fuel moved across the country. And when it reached different storage depots at various air bases, we were able to see the connection of the fuel to the military usage.
We stood on the craters of some of these airstrikes, and we spoke firsthand to civilians and witnesses and saw the impact of the airstrikes carried out by the military.
Now, in Colombia, demonstrations which started against proposed tax reforms have turned into countrywide protests. Nearly 50 people have died in the violence.
The police tried to cover up the crime by saying that some of these young people were violent in the protest. We have been able to reconstruct all the different incidents that happened that night. We can also demonstrate that this was not only an individual police or an individual soldier, that this was an issue of an intention to punish a group of people that were exercising peacefully the rights to freedom of expression and peaceful assembly.
There were 50 million people in 2022 seeking international protection. And unfortunately, the narrative has been incredibly toxic. So we need to challenge it.
Vilnius has accused Minsk of using migrants as a political weapon.
It is obviously an attempt to dehumanize them and justify human rights violations such as automatic detention, denial of asylum. After we published our report, we saw for the first time the Lithuanian press started describing the horrible conditions in detention centers. Our job is to show the truth of human rights violations, but also how this truth is at odds with the narratives used by governments to justify unjustifiable measures.
We fight toxic narratives with the facts.
Of the LGBT community has faced an onslaught of violence and death threats over the years, but organizers are hopeful that the Pride Festival will help raise awareness.
The partnership helps to guide some of the participants to craft more accessible campaigns and language. There's going to be a wider reach, a wider audience that's listening to the issues that are being raised. Amnesty Brady has the eyes of the world.
There are millions of refugees around the world who are in danger, but the process in many countries is too slow, it's bureaucratic, it's inefficient, it doesn't work. So what do we do to counteract that? We offer real solutions, for example, community sponsorship.
Is powerful because it brings together global experts in the sponsorship space. All this exchange of information, it sows these seeds and strengthens programs globally.
It's fantastic for people to be able to be part of the solution because they become the best ambassadors for a better relations with refugees and welcoming refugees.
Human Rights Office says that between February and September, the over 60s accounted for 34% of civilians killed.
With the thematics work, we really focus on the specific ways that conflicts affect parts of a population that are often overlooked, like children and women and people with disabilities and older people. We make sure that their experiences are raised, that they are part of policy debates that are happening.
The war in Ukraine is taking a heavier toll on older people than any other section of society. That's the conclusion of a new report from Amnesty International.
Providing this evidence has been really key in building international attention to this issue. There are treaties that protect women, children, people with disabilities, but older people are unprotected in international law.
Coming out of the work that we've done now for the last 3 years, Amnesty is really keen to push globally for the need for a specific convention on the rights of older people.
A recent in-depth investigation by Amnesty International has documented the devastating collapse in women's rights under the Taliban.
We released the report at the United Nations and we led a briefing to Security Council representatives and said we believe this is the right step to impose the travel bans on Taliban leadership. And just that next month, the Security Council imposed travel bans on 13 Taliban leaders. One girl who had been denied the right to go to school, she said, if education is a crime, then I will commit that crime. It's looking very dark in Afghanistan. It's not going the right direction, but something is going to happen with that resilience and that determination of half of the population.
When we work closely with others and match our skills with theirs, I think we often achieve the greatest impact, the greatest success. And that's something that I look forward to seeing more of in 2023 and beyond.
The summit is the place where we learn new skills, we improve our work, but we also learn from each other. Working with young people actually brings you hope, because you see that there is a new generation of students who want to change the world with the skills they gain through the digital verification.
I met my classmate recently. She used to work in European Parliament, and then she showed me a report, and I did the work that contributed to the creation of that report. And she said how her group used it, how they relied on it. And it was an incredible feeling that I can actually do so many things that will make this world better.
That's the essence of what our team does. We go, we find these situations that are extremely difficult to research, and our job is to prove what happened.
What we want to do is establish the truth.
We're here, we're seeing what you're doing, we're gonna stop you.
We will be there now, tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow. We are not going to forget about the stories of the people we have interviewed. We are not going to stop.